All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from today. Certainly do appreciate you joining us. And today we'll be talking about how you can elevate your donor stewardship utilizing Power Automate notifications. My name is Scott Yell. I'm one of our customer success managers here at Blackbaud. And I'm joined today by one of my customers, actually, Evan Webb from the Maui Humane Society. I'm going to hand it off to Evan in just a minute, but before we get started, did want to just go over a couple quick housekeeping items for those of you who may be new to Goldcast. Couple quick housekeeping again. The audio for this webinar is going to be broadcast through your computer speakers or your headsets if you're utilizing those. So refresh your browser if you do have any audio or technical issues. Usually refreshing or exiting out of the screen, logging back in through that link typically does the trick 9 times out of 10. And then please utilize the Q&A section to the right-hand side. If you do have any questions that come up throughout the presentation today, go ahead and throw those in that Q&A tab. It'll allow myself to really organize those a little bit better and keep it all in one place. And certainly do feel free to utilize the chat function as well to connect with other colleagues. I see we got a few folks in there already, and Carol with the great gift to start us off. So certainly do love the good vibes. I just came over from the Power Automate 101 session. So for those of you who were attending that, probably see a familiar face. But thanks again for joining the session today, folks. That will wrap up the housekeeping items here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I will pass it off over to Evan so he can go through a few things on Power Automate today.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Very honored to be here and share some things that have been helping us here at Maui Humane Society with our operations, with our Blackbaud solutions. So this is Elevate Donor Stewardship with PAL or Automate Communications. I am working at a nonprofit open admission animal shelter. I am obligated to use at least one bad animal pun. So I got that out of the way at the top. As I mentioned, my name is Evan Webb. I am the Donor Database Administrator here at Maui Humane Society. And I've been working with Razor's Edge for about 4 years and have been working with Power Automate for about 3 years. I got started whenever the mail merge function was removed from database view, and had a crash course in learning how to create a conditional mail merge in Power Automate. And I've tried to find ways to use it to help our team do our fundraising. So today I'm just going to go through some demos. First, starting off with how we send branded giving statement emails once a year. And then I'm going to talk about some internal email notifications we use to prompt our team members to take some actions. And then I'm going to talk about some flow that we use to send out email notifications to donors when they've had a declined card on a recurring gift. And then I'll talk about how we set up some of those branded emails in Power Automate. And then I'm going to talk about what to do when there's no connector. And in this example, I'm going to use Google Chat to show how we can use some of the functions to access services that don't have a Power Automate connector. And then we'll have a little time for Q&A and follow-up. And at that time, I'll share how you can access some of these flows and templates so that you can use it as a jumping off point for your own work. Okay, so for the branded giving statements, we started, if you've sent giving statements before, you've probably seen this email sort of template. This is what they look like if you send it through Razor's Edge as is. And, it works. It's very, it's functional, but it's kind of bare bones. And we have to send out a lot of these. We send out about 800 every January, and we see this as a real opportunity to do some stewardship. to connect our donors with the impact that their donations are making. And we wanted to sort of do something a little more than just have kind of a basic statement. So we came up with a solution to send an impact letter with a branded email with our logo and our theme to the donors with a PDF of the giving statement attached. And so I think to do that, we're going to start by just showing that first video, Scott, for the demo. In Power Automate that we're going to use to send these branded emails with our giving statements attached. So I've set this up as a manually triggered flow, which I modify and set up one time because I'm only going to run it one time. This flow pulls a list of constituents from an Excel spreadsheet, and then it iterates through that list, reconstructing a file name, pulling that file name from that file data from SharePoint, and then sending a custom branded email with the giving statement attached. That email contains a little bit of dynamic content in the form of a salutation. Other dynamic content could be added as needed. And then we'll see that the attachment is here from SharePoint. And then after that, it's going to actually attach that same giving statement to the constituents record. And then it's going to create an action on the constituents record recording that we sent that email with the giving statement. So let's take a look at the Excel spreadsheet that we're pulling from. So this Excel spreadsheet was created from an export of a Razor's Edge query. And the key fields here are the first name, the last name, the primary salutation, the phone number, aka the email address, and then the system record ID. So a couple things to point out. Whenever I created the Excel spreadsheet, I had to turn this data into a table. That's important for the Power Automate action to be able to actually read that data and reference it. And then the other thing I'll note is this first name and last name is used to create the file name. So when you create those giving statements in Razor's Edge, it will output a PDF, and the file name will be basically first name space last name .pdf. So we use that for that reconstruction. We pull the salutation for the email. We pull the email address that we're sending to. In this case, I've created some test records that all have my email address just for demo purposes, but that would actually show each constituent's email address. And then we have the system record ID, which will be used to create those constituent actions and attachments. So we've got that template all set up. We're going to go ahead and just run it. And I'll quickly run this. Now this shouldn't take very long because we only have those three constituents. Earlier this year when I ran this for our database, we sent this out to over 800 people. And this took a little bit of time, maybe an hour or so, but that was a big time saver over what I believe would have taken me days to do. So let's see if anything's coming into our inbox just yet. Might need to refresh. Okay, so those giving statements have arrived. Let's take a look. So as you can see, this has been sent with our branded email template that we use. We have it customized directly to Bilbo. It gives us, we send out an impact letter. This is a great donor stewardship opportunity to talk to our donors about how their impact or how their donations have made an impact. And then of course we link them out to our website for various things. And then here's our giving statement, which is attached. And this is Bilbo Baggins' giving statement, that same PDF, which he can then print and take to his accountant. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of these others. Here we have Gandalf's. Again, it's been personalized to Gandalf. And we have his giving statement attached. And so that's all looking good. Now let's take a look at the constituent record. Let's look at Bilbo. and we'll see that, let's verify that that attachment got made. So we've got that giving statement, it's been attached, so now I can easily reference that whenever I need to. As you know, sometimes a donor will come back months later and be like, I can't find that email, can you send it again? That's why that's attached, so it's really easy to reference. And then we have this action that's been created that records that we've sent that giving statement. And so that's the flow, that's how that all works out. Okay, so that was that first demo, and this. I'm just showing these as demos. I will be sending out some examples of this and instructions on how to set this up later on. So don't worry if you didn't catch everything, and I'm happy to answer questions at the end. So let's move on to the next solution we created for some needs we have here, and this was. We needed to create some internal email notifications. Many of my team members, they sort of live or ground their work in their email inbox and not in Razor's Edge. Not all of them are in Razor's Edge a lot. I, of course, live there. So we needed a way to sort of prompt some of our team members with email notifications of relevant gifts, maybe some upcoming actions they have assigned to them to take some action. And so this is a pretty simple flow where we're going to create notifications of gifts that need a handwritten thank you card. This is something that we do for gifts of a certain level. So, this kind of thing could be used for other kinds of notifications. The basic structure would be the same. You might just change the query in the fields, but it's a fairly simple email that just goes out to our team. And this is the basic structure of how this flow is set up. We've got a time trigger that runs, in this case, on a daily basis. It runs a Razor's Edge query. It formats that result in a specific way. Then it emails that result. And then it creates an action for the team member to actually write that thank you card so that they can then follow up in Razor's Edge and record that they completed that action. And so, Scott, I think we're ready for that second video.
All right, let's take a look at the flow that we use to send the notification emails. For this example, I'm using a flow that I have set up to send a daily email to our development team with a list of major gifts. This list is used to notify the team that these gifts have come in and to direct them to send thank you cards. This is a stewardship action we do for donors who make a gift of a certain level. And so this just keeps everyone in the loop about some of our big gifts that have come in and prompts them to go and write those thank you cards. Now, the first part of this flow is based on a template from a Blackbaud community member, Ashley Moose, and it runs a query using an HTTP request. So I set this up last year before the query connector was online in Power Automate. So this is using an older method of running a query from Power Automate. Ashley has a new template out based on the new query Power Automate connector. So if you're building something from scratch, you may want to start there. This method still works. So in my mind, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I just continue to use it and will probably continue to use it until I'm forced to do otherwise. Now, the basic thing this query does once it gets the results is it formats the query into a table that is then emailed to our team. And after it sends that email to the team, it creates actions on the constituent records for those thank you cards specifically. And then our team members will go in, and once they write the card, they'll mark those actions as completed. Now, when you run a query in Power Automate, it comes out with an output as a CSV. See, you could just email the CSV and be done with it, but I like to make things easier for our team members. Not everyone is technical. Many of them may not know what a CSV is. So I want to just give them a table in an email that has links to the gift record and to the constituent record. So that's what this is going to do. So I start with an action from a third-party provider called Encodian. Encodian does have a free tier that you can use to use these actions. You do have to sign up for that. But I use this for gift notifications and for acknowledgement letter merges, and I have never run into the output limit for their free tier, so I think that you can probably safely do this unless you're running a lot of notifications many times over. But what this action will do is it'll take that CSV output from the query, and it will turn it into JSON. JSON is more commonly used throughout Power Automate. And so then I use Power Automate's inbuilt parse JSON action after that to sort of restructure that output from this JSON into a more sort of evenly structured JSON format. And usually what I do when I'm building these out is I'll just run this flow until this point, and then I'll look at the output from the query, and then I'll copy that output from this action specifically, that JSON output, and I'll use that in this generate from sample to create the schema here. And then that way I don't have to figure out what the schema should look like. I'm just going to give it the data and let it figure it out. So it'll do that. It'll structure that into a nice array of JSON. And then from there, I use this I use a select action. And what I do with that select action, that's just a way of like selecting data and then adding some extra things in. So I use that to take the JSON from this step and then wrap some of that information in links. So I can put like the constituent's name and a link to their specific record. I can wrap the gift amount in a link linking to that gift record. And then I also like to include the appeal and then that gift reference or comment field. And then we use a gift code to say where the channel that the gift came from, like if it came online, if it came through a wire transfer, if it came through the bank. So we like to just sort of include that extra detail here. And then I use another select action just to get an array of the system record IDs. That will be used later on for creating those actions. And then that HTML table that's created in this step, or I'm sorry, that select table is then used in a create HTML table action. That's another inbuilt Power Automate action called create HTML table. And that'll basically just wrap that JSON in a set of HTML so that it outputs nicely into an email. And then we just put that straight here into the email. I do have to do, you'll see I use a replace action, and what that does is that's going to just change some of those special characters and format it correctly. And then once that's done, it'll go through the list of all those system record IDs, and it will create actions with those system record IDs, telling our team, okay, we need to send a thank you card for this donation. It's going to make sure that it's not completed so that our team members can see that it still needs to be done, and then they will complete it. And another thing I'll point out, those advanced actions, those are really helpful. You want to say it's outbound, and then you'll want to get the system record ID for your fundraisers that these are assigned to, and you can assign your fundraisers to that action that way. So when this runs, and again it runs every day at 5 a.m., it's going to send us an email that looks like this. Now it's not very perhaps pretty, but it gives us the information we need. We see that there was a $999 gift from Bilbo Baggins. This is pulling any gift over $500, and so we can click into here and we can see more information about that gift on the gift record. That's just going to tell us anything else that we might want to know. And then we can also click in directly to the constituent record. And then on that constituent record, we'll see that we have that stewardship, that thank you card has been triggered. Now, I do need to change my title here. We recently changed our level from $1,000 and over to $500 and over. But aside from that little error there, you can see we have a mailing, a stewardship action with a thank you card, and we have it assigned to a couple of our team members who will come in and do that, and then they will mark it completed. And so that's just a way to get everyone in the loop. A lot of our team members are not always in Razor's Edge, and so this is a way to just prompt them to come in and do something. And you can see my boss is a little confused about Bobo. And I'm hoping that my other teammates know that Bobo Baggins is a fictional character and don't try to send him a thank you card, but they may do that anyway.
All right, I keep undoing that. So that's our internal notifications to our team. And that's been working pretty well. It's a pretty easy thing. I've also got some set up for upcoming actions that our team members need to take. We manage all of our grants in Razor's Edge, so we have our report schedule in there, and so I have a notification set up for like upcoming reports too. And that's just a difference of changing out some of the query fields. All right, so next up I'm going to go over our declined card outreach. So we use NXT donation forms with payments processed by Blackbaud Merchant Services. We're using those optimized forms, which I highly recommend. Those are great. And what we noticed, and you probably have seen this too if you use this, when there's a declined card, it creates $0 gifts in the batch. And for a while, I was just approving these and just thinking nothing of it. And then I was sort of considering it. I was like, oh, I could use this to send an automatic outreach to these people to let them know that their recurring gift has been, or their card has been declined. You know, we want to be able to reach out to inform them, but our team member time is limited, and this would be an easy way to automate it. So I just created a daily flow that automatically sends an email to the donor. And it's going to use that same branded template that we saw earlier. So Scott, I think we're ready for video number 3.
Let's take a look at the recurring gift declined card outreach flow. So this flow is based around a query that the flow polls daily. And the query's criteria are basically that we have a gift that is a payment on a recurring gift. We have an email address on file, and that gift amount was 0, which indicates that there was no charge on the card. When we have Blackbaud Merchant Services process a gift and it has the declined card, it creates that gift automatically in a batch. And so this gets approved automatically, and then this query specifically picks up all of the ones that were approved from the previous day and gives that output of here's all the ones that we weren't able to process yesterday. So our flow looks much like some of our earlier flows. We are still basing it off of that basic running of a query with an HTTP request, again using that kind of old methodology, but it still works. If you're building this from scratch, I recommend using the most up-to-date Power Automate query connector. And then we're building off of those concepts from our 2 earlier flows, the branded giving statement flow and the gift notification flow. So like in the gift notification flow, we take that CSV output, we parse it into JSON, we structure that JSON, then we use a select function to structure out which fields specifically we want to include in our notification email to our internal team. So what we're going to do with that information from the query is we're going to send a summary of all those constituents and their gift that was declined internally, just so that specifically I can take a look at it and see, okay, here's who we weren't able to process those gifts for. And then what it's going to do is it's going to take the system IDs from this query of all those constituents, and it's going to iterate through them, and it's going to get their email address, and then it's going to send them a branded email, like in that giving statement email flow, and that branded email is going to be nice and formatted, and we're going to include some personalization in the salutation, and that's just going to let them know here's how you can update your monthly gift and get that restarted. And so that's really important for us. In the past, we had just been letting these things fall off. We didn't have the time among our team to personally reach out to each of those people. And so we were just losing revenue. So this was created specifically to try to recapture some of that donation revenue. And then after we send that email to the donor, we create a constituent action that just lets them know, that just records that we sent that email out. And then that way later on, we're able to, I can run some queries and some reports and find out, well, how many gifts did we actually get back through this process? How much donation revenue were we able to recoup and recover through this? And I can report on that to the higher ups. So that's how this flow works. And whenever this flow sends, basically it'll send an email much like those notification emails. It's another kind of similar structure. And it'll just tell me, here's all the declined cards. It gives me the constituent. It links to the constituent record. It tells me that reason for why the card was rejected. And then it gives the email address that the notification was then sent to. So this is just an example of that internal email notification. And then the email it sends to the donor looks much like that earlier email we saw. Again, it's branded. It says, we really appreciate your support as a monthly donor. We could not process your card. Give us a call to update that, or just go to our website and to our monthly gift donation form and get that restarted. And then I'll notice that the next day or whenever they set that up, and then I can go back and cancel their old one manually. And so this is a fairly simple but effective way to reach out to those donors whose card, for whatever reason, has been rejected, and get them back into the fold of your monthly giving or recurring giving program, and get some of that revenue back, which is so critical for us to, all of our organizations, to accomplish the mission.
Okay, so that was that demo. I really like this one. It's been really working well for us. And I saw in the chat that people were interested to see how I set up the branded emails. And so the good news is that I'm going to show that right now. So Scott, I think we're ready for video number 4.
Okay, so really briefly, I just want to show how we set up those branded emails and got that source code and brought it into Power Automate. So my coworker put together that layout, and what she did is she used Gmail's layout tool. Now I am showing this in Gmail. If you don't use Gmail as your email provider, you may need to do some investigation how Outlook might do this. But most email applications, once you create a structured email, should be able to get the HTML source code from it. And that's what's going to be critical here. So I'm just going to pull this up. This is the layout that she created. Gmail has this nice tool to structure something like this, and you can create this sort of template. And then once you have it to your liking, you can insert it into an email. So we've got this as our email, and now it's just in a draft. And so what I will then often do is I'll just send it to myself, and then I'll pop it open, And then what I'm going to do is use this three-dot menu to show the original. And that original is going to come in here. It's going to be all this stuff. It's going to give you text. It's going to give you HTML. So I usually just take the HTML and I'll just copy that part of it from the opening HTML tag up here down to the bottom HTML tag here, and I'll copy that. Now before I paste this into Power Automate, one thing you may notice if you're familiar with HTML is that a lot of these attributes have this weird 3D thing in them. It's like width equals 3D quote, width equals 3D quote. This is one of these, weird text printed quotable kind of scenarios. And basically we just need to take all that out. And so you can do that with like a find and replace in a text program and a code editor, just removing anything, find anything that says equals 3D quote and just take out the 3D. I'm going to quickly just pop this into an online tool that will fix that for me. And so then it's gone and taken all that, and now it's taken all those 3Ds out. I'll recopy that. And then in my flow, I'll go into my send email action. And when you start that send email action, what you're actually going to see is it's going to just have kind of a rich text editor in there. And there's a little button to view the source. And so that's what you'll want to do. You'll want to go to that HTML view. And I'm just going to demonstrate. So I will copy and paste that into that send email function. So I've got that in there. And then when I want to customize, I want to add, say, like that salutation, finding it in here can be such a mess, right? But I know where that lives because I know that email starts with aloha. So I use my Control F, that find function, and I'll see, okay, there's aloha, there's the name, this is where I need to insert that salutation. So I'll come in here and I will find the salutation for the email output. I'll put that in, and now that's personalized. If I had any other kind of custom content I wanted to add, I could find it in here, the place for that, and add it in. And since that's all set up, I could then save it and send it. And that's just how we've set that up, thanks to my colleague Katie, who created this layout. I think it really looks nice and works well for all of our automatic outreach. Now there's one additional step you'll need to take to get that, that HTML email into Power Automate so that it displays correctly. If you pull that HTML from Gmail, and this probably is the same for other email applications, the images may not show up correctly if you send it as is. And that's because if we look at this email, this is an image tag. This is telling us that there's an image here. This SRC is the source, and it's pointing to this token. And this token lives in Gmail. It doesn't live on the web. So if you sent this from Gmail, it would show up fine. But because we're sending this through Power Automate, we actually need to link this to a URL that exists on the web. And so this is a little bit of a tedious process the first time, but once you get it set up, it's pretty smooth sailing. But what you'll have to do is go through all of your image tags and find out in the original image or email what images they correspond to. So like what I had to do here is I had to take this image, I had to take this background image, this paw print, I had to take all these photographs and even these social media icons, and I downloaded them to my computer, and then I uploaded them to our MauiHumaneSociety.org website. And then I came in here to the source code, and I found this one, and I basically went, block by block. I said, okay, this is the first one. This is the header image. Let me change this to the header image on our website. And so that takes a little testing. It might take a few iterations to make sure you get the right image attached to the right image HTML code here. But that extra step, once you take it, you should be able to then just reuse that same template in other flows.
All right. So I hope that was helpful. And I will just say I'm showing Gmail for a lot of these because that's what we use. You should be able to use Outlook's Power Automate action. They have a send email action that's almost identical to Gmail's. And I haven't tested it, but it looks like you have the same capability to throw in some HTML in there. So that's also an option if you're using another email provider. There. So next up, I'm going to try to run through this quickly. What do we do when there's no connector? In this case, I'm going to show an example with Google Chat. So just some context, we're an open admission animal shelter. We're open to the public daily. And recently, we had an initiative to find out more about our foot traffic in the door. And so we have a sign-in form when people arrive that they can give us just a little bit of contact information and also indicate the purpose of their visit. And we needed a way to alert our team members when someone here's for a specific purpose. And in this specific instance, the need was if someone's coming in and they say they're here to adopt an animal, we want to be able to alert our team members, our adoption team, that, hey, there's someone here, and we need to maybe go find them and try to help, just do some matchmaking and help them find the right pet for them. And so this isn't specific to fundraising, but I am going to tie it back in just a moment. And how this works, it's fairly simple. But Power Automate has HTTP request capabilities. So there's an action that allows you to send an HTTP message. And so for services out there on the web that have an API, but don't necessarily have a Power Automate connector, you can use this action to connect to those services. There's also a pretty cool HTTP request received trigger that can provide you with an URL endpoint to initiate a flow. So that's sort of the other end of it, that you could actually set up your own endpoint. So you could perhaps say like set up a QR code that links to that endpoint and checks on someone in an event, as an example. But for our example, I used Google Chat's webhook app capability. There's a way in the Google admin panel to create a webhook app, and it'll give you a URL to send HTTP post messages. So how this works in our flow is we have a form, and that form has a specific trigger. And when that form has an indicator that there's an adoption interest, it will basically just send that HTTP message via a post message to that specific URL endpoint. And it sends a very simple bit of JSON that gives them a message that, hey, there's someone here who's interested in adopting. And so then that's great for our team because it just alerts people on our team like, hey, it pings them, it makes a noise on their desktop so that they can go take some action there. And so it just looks like something like this. Like we have Matt Johnson's here and he's interested in adopting a cat, and they get that right in the moment, and they can hop up and go over to the cat building and see if they can engage Matt in a conversation about what he's looking for. So tying this back into fundraising, my next steps with this flow is I am going to basically use the email address that people provide to check to see if they're in our database. So if a donor checks in, I can actually send their assigned fundraiser a chat alert. We're all in the back of the back office. We're not out on the floor. And maybe sometimes a major donor walks through the door and we might want to go just engage them in a conversation. We don't even need to let them know that we got this alert. We can just have a little bit of serendipity there. And then we could also use a text message. We could send this by a text message. We use a digital phone provider called RingCentral that has an API that we could send a similar JSON message that would actually send an SMS to someone. Right now, Google Chat works for us, so that's probably what we'll be doing. And then I know we're coming down to the end, so I do want to have a little time for some Q&A and follow-up. I will just say, please send me an email if you're interested in these templates. I didn't have, I wear a lot of hats around here, and I really wanted to get this ready before the presentation, but life happens, and last minute panic is my MO. So send me an email if you're interested in these, and next week I will be sending out the templates and some instructions on how to set them up. And just so you know, I'm not adding you to any email list or anything. This is just going to be a one-time email to try to help you out with them. So let's see what's going on in the Q&A here.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I saw just 2 or 3 in the Q&A section, Evan. And I think one of them you actually pretty much answered in the email template video demonstration.
Yeah. Okay, I see Marissa's question about would the email flow for giving statements also work with the RE/NXT email module. I didn't use the email module, and the reason was because there's no way to put an attachment there. So that's sort of what initiated the need for this specific flow to go from Power Automate. It would be cool if that was a feature on the horizon. I don't know that it is, but there's the idea bank. Maybe that's something to consider adding there. And then Hallie, I see your message, your question. Your giving statement export, is that exported from database view or from a query API? That's just run from database view or even web view and then saved from there. So it's just a query I run. Because it's only going one time, there was no need in my mind to automate that any further. So I just run that query once, save it, and then I upload it to SharePoint and link it up to the flow from there. All right. Well, if there's any more questions, it looks like we got a couple more minutes. I really do appreciate everyone's time. I hope this is helpful and inspiring, and it gives you some ideas of things you can do here. There's really a lot. I really love working with Power Automate because there's no limit to what we can do. It's really just our imagination. So it's a fun thing for me to play around with when I have the time to do it.
For sure. Well, yes, thanks again, Evan, for presenting this today. I mean, really just some awesome stuff, some great use cases. So certainly keep up the good work on your end. And folks, you'll do notice that I did launch a survey. So if you can take just a minute to go ahead and give us some feedback there, certainly would appreciate it. And be sure to give our awesome presenter today, Evan, 5 stars as well. But thank you again, folks, for joining today. Certainly do hope that you found the information shared today beneficial. I'll run through the chat and Q&A once again, one real quick, just to ensure that there weren't any other lingering questions, but I believe we did get everything. But thanks again for joining today, folks. Certainly hope that you've enjoyed the presentations that we've and information that we've shared so far on BB Dev Days. And we're just about halfway through, so we got a lot of other good sessions on the agenda and great content to share. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up here, but thanks again for joining today, folks, and certainly hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, aloha, everyone. All right. Nice.